All right, welcome to the LinkedIn Lead Gen Forms webinar. In this webinar, I'm going to cover a few things, three things mainly, but first of all, I'm going to show you how to create and connect lead gen forms from scratch. Now, what are we going to cover in this webinar? So the first thing what we'll cover is understanding lead gen forms just from a business perspective, and then also creating your first lead gen form. So we're going to deep dive live into the tool, how to set it up. Now, you'll also see that, once you start capturing leads, you want to do something with them. This is also the webinar where I'll teach you how to connect lead gen forms to your CRM system, to your marketing automation system, so you can actually do some follow-up. And then as a third, with the last thing, we're going to automate a few flows. If people sign up, they go to the webinar, they sign up to a form, how to automate that flow later on. So these are really the three things that we're covering today. It's really a live session, so the first 3 slides are just slides, and then after that it's just deep diving into the tool, showing you how it's done, so you can replicate the entire process. Before we get started, my name is Ricardo Hakire. Hard name to pronounce, or or at least the last name is a hard one to pronounce, so don't worry about it. I'm currently the head of paid social at Uptrust.eu, which is basically the 52 digital geeks based in Belgium running digital performance marketing. And I'm also the founder of the B2B Marketers and Founders Facebook group. So there's about 3K founders and marketers just, exchanging knowledge every single day. So if you're not part of the group, just make sure to sign up after this webinar. All right, let's get straight into it. The first thing what we're going to cover is understanding lead gen forms and just how to create your first lead gen form. Now, before that, let's talk about the understanding of lead gen forms. So lead gen forms is just available on a few, things that you can put forward. So that those are sponsored content, emails, carousel, and conversation ads. Those are the 4, main things that you can use lead gen forms on to run your ads. Now, you'll also see, the good thing is that they have really higher conversion rates compared to websites because they're just using pre-filled data and not, just another step that they need to fill in. So if LinkedIn knows the first name, the last name, the email, it's just going to pre-fill all that information in advance so that the people that you're targeting or the customers that you're targeting are not really, don't have to fill in all this information again. It's just something that LinkedIn already knows. Now, on the other side, because it's so easy, what we've seen, and this is really from experience talking to salespeople, is that there's a questionable lead quality, meaning that some sales actually get to call them afterwards and they're like, I have never filled in a form like that. So it is always a balance between, how much do you ask and, how easy do you make it? And then also what is the quality you're going to get, afterwards for your salespeople to follow up on basically. So it does have some questionable lead quality, and also good to know is that because you're using those pre-filled fields, a lot of Gmails will get in. Now, for some businesses, this is really not a problem. Some salespeople just got to follow up on Gmail, Hotmail accounts. But some sales I've talked to actually don't want to follow up if it's a Gmail account. They only want to go for business email addresses. So this is a little bit of a question you should be asking yourself, because a lot of percentage, I'm really talking 70, 80% is going to be Gmail accounts. So keep this in mind when you're going to run lead gen forms. All right. Now, what will happen, and I really hope this does, is that when you start running campaigns, these leads are going to come into the platform. Now, that's a good thing, but probably you just don't want them to have them in your platform. You also want to have them, in your marketing automation system, in your in your HubSpot account, so in your CRM system. So there's 3 ways how to do that. I'm just going to move myself a little bit to the left, to the right. So there's 3 things that will happen. So you can either start downloading from your lead gen forms. So if you go to your account assets, but we'll walk through that in a second, and you go to lead gen forms, you can actually just download them straight away from there. Or if you have a big CRM system like Salesforce, Eloqua, those have native integrations with Salesforce. So basically, if somebody fills in a form, it will go straight into Salesforce or into your CRM system. If you're using something else, and this is for most companies, you can use Zapier to connect both. So connect lead gen forms with your CRM system, because that is mostly what you'll be end up doing as well. Because it's a lot easier, and also it gives you a little bit more versatility to where you can shoot that data onwards. And that's exactly what we'll be covering during this webinar. I'm going to show you, how to capture your first lead, and then also from there, how to shoot it into your CRM systems or your marketing automation system using Zapier. Keep in mind, if you haven't heard about Zapier, I'll walk through that in a second, but you'll need a premium account because LinkedIn Ads webinar or LinkedIn Ads, lead gen forms is really a premium feature for them. Right, next one. So the good thing and the bad thing is that once you start setting up a lead gen form and you activate that campaign, so you have created your lead gen form, you assign it to a campaign and you start running it, even if it's just one impression, you can never, ever change that lead gen form. So it's not like, let's imagine you run the webinar, you set it up, and your manager comes in, your copywriter comes in, and they're like, there's actually some typos in there. You can actually change that. So you'll have to set up a whole new lead gen form, make that connection again. So watch out if you're creating your lead gen forms, just to make sure that everything properly is set up, because otherwise you'll be having troubles later on. One of the features that is mostly not used, and what I really want to cover, is hidden fields. If you don't really know what hidden fields is, it's basically a way to pass extra information to your CRM system that people don't fill in. For example, let's say that you have, you're running ads in multiple countries. Let's say England, France, and Netherlands, and those have 3 different languages, and your forms have 3 different languages. What you can do, it's not really ask them, hey, are you English? Or do you speak English? That doesn't make sense, because if they fill in a form in English, it's probably going to be in English. The follow-up needs to be in English. But you don't want to ask that question. You just know that question because it's in your form, and your form is in English. But you want to send that information to your CRM system. So what happens is, for example, you can have a hidden field saying the language is English. So you shoot that information together with that lead. You shoot that over to your CRM system so that you know that if you do a follow-up sequence, it needs to be in English, or you can make some flows saying, okay, if they speak English, go left. If they speak Dutch, go to the other flows, basically. So good feature, definitely use, and I would definitely recommend to check out hidden fields while you're setting that up. One thing that is also a downfall is, of course, that there's no cookie tracking. So if somebody converts on, for example, a HubSpot form, and this is more on the technical side, if somebody converts on a HubSpot form on your website and it accepted the cookies, which is a good thing, you can follow them across the web. So if they download the webinar and later on converts, or they speak to the salespeople, you can actually see what pages that person was seeing right before that. Now, because the person is converting on LinkedIn and not on your website, you won't have that backtracking of where did the lead come from all the way. Also, a downfall is that you can do no retargeting unless you send them to a thank you page. Now, the good thing is it changed in 2020. That is a good thing, that now if you set up campaigns, you can actually retarget people that opened your lead gen form or closed your lead gen form, or opened and not converted, or opened and converted all the way. So that has changed in 2020. So that is something really powerful, to retarget all the users that, people that saw the lead gen form and they're like, not for me right now. You can retarget those later on, or you can retarget them on other platforms if you send them to a thank you page that has all the tracking installed. So if you just send them to a PDF, or you just send them to a link with a Google Drive link, you won't be able to retarget them on other platforms. But if you send them to a thank you page, you can actually retarget them on all the other platforms as well. Alrighty, now that we have some context around lead gen forms, and we know what is possible, not to make typos, and really set it up, I'm really going to show you through the platform, and I'm going to set up a campaign together with you. So let's head over to the platform. So to give you some context, if you're watching this webinar, you've probably seen this page or on some other page to get to this webinar. So let's imagine that I want to promote this free webinar on how to create and connect lead gen forms from scratch. And I want to do that using lead gen forms. So that is the context I'll be doing for this entire setup. So let's go to the platform. There we go. And we're going to create a form. So if you don't know where this is, it's in account, assets, lead gen forms, boom, and you can create one. So let's create the first form. Now, what I do want to do is I'm going to cancel this, if that's working. It's a little slow. There we go. And I'm going to say OK. Just going to copy this for the ease. No, okay, never mind. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a name first. The first is the name is always the language. What I always try to do, well, okay, there it's back. So what I always try to do is put the language of the form, because otherwise sometimes if you're running in multiple countries and you want to set up France and Dutch and French and all that stuff, you don't know which form to pick. So it's really important that you give at least the language that you're going to be advertising in. So the language is English. Then I'm going to say webinar, webinar XYZ, that's not the case. Webinar lead gen forms. There we go. Also the date, just to check on what is the frequency, like when did you set up this campaign? So if you're in 3 years time, you know which campaign you set up 3 years ago, but also to know that that is not the form that you should be using. Maybe there's a V1, a V2, a V3, so that you know that you're taking the latest version. So let's take on, we are now, I actually have no idea, the 7th of March, 7th of March, 7th March 2021. There we go. All right, the offer, the headline. So that is very limited. It just has 60 characters. So I'm just gonna try this. I like just to keep it very simple. There we go. Let's see if this fits. There we go, 9. Just gonna delete that. There we go. Learn how to create and connect LinkedIn lead gen forms. Boom. That's the offer. That's what we're gonna set up. No, we're actually gonna here. And then we're gonna try how much we can get from this into that. There we go. Boom. Offer details. I do recommend always have the offer details. Like some people like to skip this. I don't, because think about like this. People click on an ad and then they don't really have a lot of context. They don't go to a landing page where you can show them all the valuable stuff or the 3 key steps and all that stuff. You really have a limited amount of space to say this is exactly what you're gonna get. So try to really make sure that you have the right context and the right copy in there. So I'm just gonna in this webinar, so I'm just gonna say this. In this webinar, I'll show you how to create them from scratch and connect them with your CRM or marketing system to nurture your leads all the way. Perfect. There we go. Privacy statements. Always keep the link there. Very important, otherwise it won't be running. This is optional. I really don't put it there unless I'm working with corporates where they have this big legal team behind it. I won't really fill that one in. Questions. So of course, the cool thing about LinkedIn lead gen forms is that you can ask any question you want, but also you can have pre-filled information LinkedIn already knows. For example, first name, last name, email address. There's a lot of, you can basically have these pre-filled. Now, one thing that I would advise is you have email address always pops up here, but you also have work email. So these are actually 2 email addresses that people have. So sometimes LinkedIn also has a work email or the email address. What I try to recommend if you're working with a sales team and they're a little bit, cringy on the I really want to work email, is to recommend really using the work email versus the email address, because sometimes you really get some of the business emails coming through. Not always. I do I always say 70%, 60% is really still the Hotmail, Gmail account, because that's what people signed up, once back in the days when they were actually starting LinkedIn, or the LinkedIn CV when it was back CVs back in the days. So try to work with work emails. So you have the whole information. I'm not just gonna run through it because it really depends on what you wanna ask. Mostly the company name, company size is also a nice one to always ask, because those are all pre-filled. So you have exactly what the company size as well. Cool thing is you can also ask some custom questions. So let's say for me, are you a LinkedIn expert? Or in my sense, let's say this one, what is your monthly ad spend? There we go. And then you have the options 0 to 1000. You have 1001 all the way 1001. There we go. I'll put this like this because that's for the CRM system. There we go. And then I have this option as well. I'm not gonna fill them all the way, but just to give some options. So let's say that's 2500. There we go. We can add a lot more options right there. We're just gonna keep it simple for this webinar. You can go all the way up to 3 custom questions. I do recommend, and I know this is like an ever-ending battle between how much questions do you ask and how much do you not ask. And I know salespeople, they like to have so much context. What is their pajama color? What is their underpants color? All these things. So for you as a marketer, it's really to balance between quality for salespeople and giving them enough context, and also you still want people to convert and not ask the entire CV just for a webinar. So it's really a balance for you to figure out how much can you ask, how much do you not ask. For me, general rule of thumb, wow, is to have all these pre-filled questions and then 2, max 3, but I really recommend 1 to 2 additional questions. And really what I also recommend on top of that, so 1 to 2 additional questions, is also please don't ask questions that take more than 3 seconds for people to know. So what do I mean with this is that once I have discussions that, hey, but we really need the VAT number of the customer or the lead to come in so that we can find all their details online, and these salespeople are like, yeah, that's exactly what we want to do. And and think about it like this from a marketing perspective. You're sitting on LinkedIn just chilling out, and suddenly you want to fill in the form. You're like, I need to figure out what my VAT number is, which is not something you know by heart. So I would have to look that up. It's not something I'm gonna do because maybe it's just a webinar. I'm like, skip it, never mind. I'm not gonna go all the way to new screen, figure out what my VAT number is, and come back and fill in the form. So a really rule of thumb, I said it right now, is to really have, if you're gonna ask questions, it needs to be able to answer them within 3 to 5 seconds max. The moment they start thinking longer than 5 seconds, you lost them. So think about this. If you're setting up custom questions, this is basically what you need to be thinking about. You can have some custom checkbox. For example, if you're working with corporates and you really have to have that opt-in of that customer or that lead, you can say, hey, do you accept our terms and conditions, basically, because that's not something, if you look at the form, it's not something that is there. This is the checkbox. And so here sometimes for corporate you would say accept terms and conditions. Copywriting, not on point today. And it could be required, could be not required. So sometimes for corporates, they really want to have, if they have somebody in their database, they need to accept the terms of conditions. Otherwise they send up these stupid ass follow-ups like, hey, do you accept to be in this database? If you really don't want that to happen, just make sure that you put this one in. Have a checkbox that if you follow up on this rule, or if you convert on this form, that you accept the terms and conditions. So I'm just gonna put that as required. And then of course you have the confirmation. So in my sense, that is the thank you page, probably where you're on right now. So this would be here. Let's put that here. Thank you page. Keeping it simple. There we go. What I recommend here to do, so you have your landing page URL. You have your landing page URL. The thing is that if people convert and they go to your website, in your Google Analytics, you probably see that somebody came from LinkedIn, and then from there onwards, they came from LinkedIn using the LinkedIn lead gen form. Now, you won't be able to see that it was actually from your campaign. That is a hard part about it. They'll see that it's just from organic or something like that. So what you really want to do is add to your landing page URL, if you're using one, which I do really recommend, because otherwise you just lose all the analytics, is to add all the UTM parameters. So you would say UTM source is LinkedIn. You could say that and really use all the UTM parameters. So there's A lot of UTM builders, if you're in the masterclass, you'll have this UTM builder that you can automatically make this. Or otherwise, Google has an UTM builder right there. Just add your link for one time. So I definitely recommend using UTM parameters behind your URL so that your campaign manager or yourself, you can really track where these people are coming from. So you don't just have a lot of traffic coming from LinkedIn. You have no idea what's happening. So write your thank you message. Thank you for this the download. Make it something nice. You can click and see the webinar with the link below. There we go. Now this is horrible copy. I do know that, but I really hope you make something beautiful out of this. But the goal is really for people to click and go to your thank you page. Now, as mentioned, you have hidden fields, and you can go crazy all the way up to 20. Mostly I use about 2 to 3, depending on what the context is. But for example, here you could say language, and you can say, okay, this language is English. There we go. So now, if we're going to shoot that data all the way to your CRM system or marketing automation system, we know that we need to follow up in English, and we can shoot that data into our CRM system. Other common things is, for example, campaign codes sometimes is used as well. Then you have languages, campaign codes. Sometimes you can also put the country. So sometimes you're just going to target with this form in Belgium. So you know that the Belgian, all the people that come from this form needs to be followed up by a Belgian representative, basically, or a French representative. So that's also a common use, but that's more advanced when you want to send leads to this right person all the way back after they convert. All right, I'm not going to make it too complicated for now. We have our hidden fields, confirmation, lead details, form details, and now we are ready to go. There we go. Create the form. Now that we've created the form, of course, we want to set up the campaigns with it. Now, I assume you know how to create campaigns. If not, make sure to download and check the LinkedIn Ads webinar. It's really setting up it really teaches you from A to Z all the way to set up the campaigns and really analyze the campaigns. Now, let's imagine that you've set up the campaign. You want to connect that to your LinkedIn lead gen form. So now that we've done that, we want to automate that, and we want to make sure that we don't want to just download all leads every single day and then upload them to your CRM system. That's not what you want to be doing. What you want to be doing is once somebody converts, everything is sent properly to your marketing automation system or your CRM system for people or your marketing people to follow up. So let's go ahead and do that. And it's really where we come into the second phase of the webinar. Now that we have the form and we know how people convert, how do we set it up into connecting it? So this is done through Zapier. And if you don't know Zapier is basically a one-way sync from A to B. So if you want to connect data from LinkedIn lead gen forms all the way to your CRM system, that's the way you do it. But you can do so much more. So that is just one step. But you can do 50 to 60 steps with the data coming from. So good to know. I'm saying a one-way sync because you can send data from one way to the other way, but you can't sync it back real time, for example. So that is why I say one sync. There's Zapier that is really a one sync. Then you have, for example, PySync, which is a tool to sync in real time towards the right tools, but that's not something we're going to use for now. So let's say we were going to create our first Zap. So what we're going to do, click on the event. We're going to say, okay, it's not so fast. LinkedIn, I'm going to scroll down. LinkedIn lead gen forms. As you can see, it says premium, so you really need to be having a premium account of Zapier to do this. It's not really a big cost, and especially if you know how much time it's going to save you. And apart from that, you don't really use it just for LinkedIn lead gen forms. I use it for everything. So if a new sales comes from my masterclass, if I want to follow up on a webinar, if I want to connect my webinar software with, for example, my Slack, I run everything through this. So it's not just an investment for this, it's really an investment for all the things that you hate doing, which is not automated. You can now automate it. So let's choose a trigger. Of course, form response, heading over. There we go. All right. So in your case, if this is the first time you're gonna do this, you'll have to choose an account. And if you don't have an account yet, you can basically click on a new account. The only thing you have to do is log in into your LinkedIn, and now they know everything about you and also your accounts, or which one you're gonna connect. So I already have this one connected, but the only thing you have to do is create a new one and connect your account. All right, I'm gonna set up a trigger. Now it's gonna pull up all the accounts we have. We're gonna say Ricardo. Wow, what a beautiful name. There we go. Ricardo ad account, lead gen form. Which one is it? Of course, we've created this one. LinkedIn lead gen forms. There you go. Now I know exactly, because of the naming convention, that this is the English one, the webinar lead gen forms, and it was created on the 7th entry. There we go. We've created that one. Let's continue. All right, we're gonna test the trigger, and this is where you're going to probably fall still, and you're like, what the hell has just happened? We couldn't find a form response. You're like, wait, I created the form, but it's not working. How is that even possible? So this is where you'll get stuck for the first time, and don't worry, I'll just guide you through it. So the reason why it says there's no form response is because you haven't set that one up. And basically what LinkedIn or Zapier wants is that you convert at least one time, so that they can pull in that information, and then you can structure it all the way to your marketing automation system. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go into campaign, and this is basically where you can just create any campaign. So I'm just gonna set it up from the beginning. So let's take a campaign group. Let's gonna say test LinkedIn lead gen forms. You don't actually have to put anything there. Start date today, perfect. It's active, yep. There we go. Creating that first one. Test. There we go. And now within that, we can just create a campaign. It doesn't really matter. You can go through it. You can say next, perfect, lead generation. Yeps. It's gonna go all the way. Just gonna put myself down. Yes, I clicked on it. United States. Okay, it still thinks I'm in Dubai. Perfect. There we go. Single image ads. That's perfect. And gonna continue. Yes, all the way. Don't really need to follow up anything. It's just really to test the LinkedIn lead gen form. I'm just gonna show you how to do that. Create a new ad. There we go. Just gonna say an example, zooming out a little bit. This is a test. You can basically call all of that test. Destination URL, pick anything, that's fine. Headline, test, and description, tests, perfect. There we go. I'm gonna add a form detail. Sign up, lead gen form. There it is. And now we've connected them. Now we still didn't convert, and I'm just gonna show you how to do that, because that's when I'm setting this up for other people, they're like, well, how is this even possible? I don't really get how that's actually being done. So basically, if you go here, now you've created your fake test account or your fake test lead gen form. You go here, click on the dots, and you say show in feed. There we go. And it opens up a new tab, and basically this is what we call a dark post. It's a post that you only see if you're running ads, but it allows you to preview on how it is being set up, on what you'll be able to see. So let's click on sign up. My monthly marketing spend is exactly this. Perfect. I accept the terms of conditions, Ricardo. Thank you very much. And I submit. Now, that's the only thing you actually had to do. So what you can check this, if you see if this was right, you go back to your campaign manager. So you can just exit it. You're gonna click on Ricardo Akire. There we go. And you can go back to your account assets, so lead gen forms. There we go. One test lead. Oh, actually, it's on the second one. You have one test lead there. Just gonna show you here. Boom. So now that you see that there's one test lead inside, oh, sorry, actually, it's this one. If you see there's one test lead, now that you know that it's there, you can actually start pulling in the data. So let's go back to your Zapier. There we go. and we're gonna test the trigger again. Gonna zoom out a little bit. Beautiful. Now we have the form response, and we have all the data coming in from my LinkedIn lead gen form. So let's put that back. There we go. We continue. Now what you have to do is connect it with your marketing automation system or CRM system. Now I use ActiveCampaign. A lot of people use ActiveCampaign or anything else. You just pick in your app that you're using. Zapier has, I think, all the connections mostly with CRM systems or marketing automation. So I don't really worry about not having yours, but double check before you do this, of course. So I have ActiveCampaign. So what I'm gonna do is create an updated contact, continue, and there we go. So we choose the account, ActiveCampaign of Ricardo. Perfect. Continuing. There we go. All right. Now, the thing is that if you're going to shoot data, especially for ActiveCampaign, but also for other marketing automation systems, it's going to ask you to put it into a list. For HubSpot, sometimes that's not the case, but for ActiveCampaign, it asks you to put that into a list. So what I'm going to do is, now that I have this, is create a list. So go to your ActiveCampaign or any marketing automation system you're using and create a new list. So in this case, it could be LinkedIn leads gen forms webinar attendees. Let's call them like that. And then you put the list URL of where they signed up and a reminder of where these people signed up. And you can click on add here. Now, I've already done that before. That's why you're actually here. So that is basically what I would do first. So create your ad list and then come back to your Zapier. Now, important step. So I would click add here. I'm not going to do that because I already have a list. But important that if you click them open, you'll see that probably your list is not there. Is not the one you just created is not there. So scroll all the way down. And for some CRM systems, that can be a lot because of the fields. But scroll all the way down and click here on refresh fields, and it will pull in your list that you've just created. So if you just updated something like 2 seconds ago, scroll all the way down, refresh your list, and go all the way back. All right, now we have here. So what do we have? We have the attendees. Let's call them here, LinkedIn lead gen forms. Boom. We add our the email address. So here we search for an email. There we go. Then we have the first name. First name is my broccoli coming through. That's nice. Then we have the last name. There we go. Last name. And then you probably want to have some other things. Now, for example, the spend, for example. Marketing ad spend per month. That's a custom question we asked in the form, and we also, if people convert and they fill in this information, we probably also want to know that that data inside our marketing automation system, so we can run some automated flows or anything related to that. So let's say here we have our marketing spend. How did we call this? There we go. What is your monthly ad spend? Boom. We add that question there. Perfect. And of course we have a lot more information. So let's just pull that up quickly so you can see all the things. So I've asked for the company name. You can also see the campaign name. So basically if you have, UTM parameters or campaign names within your marketing automation system, you can say this is the campaign name, the company size. I've also a question I asked, the ad form name. So what, form name they converted. Sometimes it's useful, but I don't really shoot that information most of the time. So there's a lot of things that you can send to your marketing automation system depending on what you're going to use it for. But most of the things is of course the things that you've asked, and then also, for example, you can use a campaign local country. So there's a lot of things you can ask, and that is there. But these are really the basic that you need to be set up, and depending on what you need more, just create an extra field in your CRM system, and then from there shoot that data inside. If you think about it, Zapier is not really that hard. It's really about what data do you have and where do I want to put that data, and then just creating fields and saying, okay, I want this data out there. Boom, that's ready. So now that I have this, going all the way down, continue. There we go. Let's give it a test. email address is not there. So let's test this. Did I forget to put the email address? Probably. Yes, all right. Contact was sent to ActiveCampaign in about 1 minute. So the test was successful. I actually got a Slack notification. Here it is somewhere in my AirPods. But that means that now I have a new successful case. And the data is now, if people convert on my form, they are right going to my ActiveCampaign, and I have them in my list where I can do everything what I want to do. So I'm just going to call them here. The language, same thing here. LinkedIn lead gen form, webinar. And what I also like to do after that is to say LinkedIn to ActiveCampaign. Of course, I know these abbreviations, but if you want to put this in the full, you can decide that. But for me, I just want to put that where is the data coming from and where is it all the way ending. So if you have multiple steps, so you have LinkedIn, ActiveCampaign, maybe you can put some Slack after that to say if it's a webinar attendee, shoot that to my Slack, send it to a Google Sheet, for example. You can do so many automation flows. I usually take LinkedIn, ActiveCampaign, so marketing automation system, then also to a Google Sheet because I can run a lot of data analysis on that. Slack, because I love that feeling of getting a lead inside my CRM system and getting that notification. So those are the most common ones. And the last one, which could also be, is that you send emails towards the right salespeople so that they know a new lead came in for their region or for their technology coming in. So in this case, just LinkedIn, ActiveCampaign, and now we're done. The only thing we have to do, turn on the Zap, and we are ready. So I'm not going to do this because I already have a Zap in place and I'll just be getting twice into data. But that's the only thing you would have to do. LinkedIn lead gen form, set it up, ActiveCampaign, create a contact and turn on the Zap, and you're ready to go. Now that you have that, now that you have a LinkedIn lead gen form set up and you're shooting that data from LinkedIn all the way to your marketing automation system, you want to do something with it, and that's where you set up the flow. So in ActiveCampaign, everybody has a marketing automation system, which is different. So I'm not going to go very deep in this, but now that you have that, and for the case in ActiveCampaign, so what I do is that I have automations running which starts when a contact subscribes to my list. So I have this LinkedIn webinar attendees lead gen form. So this is the list where I sent, and if you remember right in Zapier, that you had to pick a list. This is my list where I sent people towards. And of course, what I do is I post a message to my Slack channel. So I really just want to know, who these people are, and just want to know if a lead comes in or which kind of person this is. So just for me to know and optimize my campaigns. And I just enjoy the sound of, the Slack notification of, somebody coming in my funnel. So I just enjoy that. And then you send them a welcome email. So you probably had this already. Welcome, saying, hey, welcome, I just have a question from you. What would you like to get out of this webinar? What's like your main struggle? So this is like a follow-up question. And what I also do is just send them back the link of where they can revisit the webinar, because I know that a lot of people download a webinar and they're like, okay, I'm not going to do this now because I'm like at work, or it's not something I can spend time on right now. But you know what, in 2 days, in the weekend or on Fridays when it's a little calmer, I'm going to watch that webinar. So I really send them an email saying, hey, this is actually where you can rewatch the webinar all the way. And this is where your sequence starts. This is where you kind of see, what the goal is. And my goal, for example, truth to be told, is that you would buy my masterclass. So what I do is after 1 day, I have a look if in my CRM system, if you became a customer, if you bought a master class, a LinkedIn masterclass, and if that's true, my goal is reached. So the goal of this automation has been reached, and I just end the automation and I put you into other automations saying, okay, welcome to the LinkedIn Ads Masterclass, and here's some guidance towards that. So I just end the automation if you reach the goal. If it's not, I'm just going to send you a few automated emails which are really relevant towards that webinar that you just watched. For example, the frameworks we use, for example, the what is a good CTR on LinkedIn. All those things are, probably these emails you're also going to get after this webinar as well. So this is where the automated emails come from, 1 to 3. Now, everybody has his own marketing automation strategy, so not going to go too deep, but just for you to know what is like happening in the background with me, so that you can probably just copy that or just even make it better for your company as well. So this is where where we went from LinkedIn lead gen forms, how to create them, what is the understanding of it, how to create them, then also how to automate that into your marketing automation system, and then really what to do with them and what is like the next steps when people download something, or how to use the LinkedIn lead gen forms. So that is it. And I see that I lost my mouse, which is back here. All right. So just to end on a quick note is that I have a LinkedIn Ads Masterclass, which you can see on this page below. If you scroll them down, you'll see a few misconceptions that people still have about LinkedIn ads. And I truly believe that, going through this LinkedIn Ads Masterclass, that you can really tackle those misconceptions for you. So I'll be really excited to, see you in the masterclass. And the good thing about it is that once you join the masterclass, you can ask any single question you have about LinkedIn ads. Any question you have running your campaigns, you want to get some second thoughts on it, I'll be getting back to you in 24 hours personally, so you can skyrocket your campaigns. Alrighty, well, thank you very much for getting all the way to this end. I really hope it was valuable, and now that you really know how to set up LinkedIn lead gen forms for yourself. And if you have some questions, or if you want to get some second thoughts, please send them over to me. I'll be happy to review them, talk to you about it, and have a happy LinkedIn lead gen form creation. See you on the other side.